Hey everyone, let's try something new. As I'm on my way out to listen to more of Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and it's getting too much to remember, so I'm trying to vlog it. I have listened to 13 hours so far. The book is in total 62 hours, and it's narrated by Scott Brick, and it's wonderfully narrated. So the audiobook was definitely a good choice because I could really immerse myself into the reading without getting sidetracked. And with such a big book and my current reading pace, it takes too long and I can't focus long enough on reading to really make progress. With an audiobook, this really helps. So this is a story of basically a train line where we have the Taggart company, the Taggart Transcontinental. It's a train company in America, and they are struggling with new tracks and steel and business, and there is a steel company or someone who makes steel who provides a new metal, Reardon metal. And that is something that one of the main characters, Dagny Taggart, wants to have for her railroad to repair a line, the Rio Norte line, to make it more productive, to make it more modern and faster. And this is sort of the plot, the story background. What we have a lot is a lot about the characters, the business part, and also a lot about the obstacles that people throw in their way. There's a lot of talk about looters and how people don't want them to succeed, about social ideas, that it isn't fair, and all of this is the background. And there is not much happening and a lot happening at the same time. I really enjoy how we see the fight that the businessman Dagny and Hank Reardon really fight for their line to be productive, to bring out something and of course make money with it. But it's interesting to see how many obstacles they have to overcome, politics and competitors, and I'm lacking the word, but people who undermine them and won't support them, but really sabotage them on different levels. Also, Dagny Taggart is running the company with her brother, and James Taggart is more of the idea that you need to do the social thing. And one of the main things that I have been thinking about a lot for the first 13 hours and in anything that happens is how your own personal ideas about society, economy, and socialism and whatever affect the reading. Now, I'm personally more on the side of Hank and Dagny, that I think that what they're doing is providing work, it's providing jobs, it's providing progress, it's moving the economy forwards, it's moving the country forwards, and it's not destroying businesses. Whereas from my perspective, everything that Oren Boyle and James Taggart and all of this group is doing is trying to protect their own status quo, no matter how competent they are, or rather incompetent, because they're not doing the work. They're stopping progress, they're hindering production and everything. They just want to have their piece of the cake. And they're accusing the others of just wanting to have a profit, but the people who work and make a profit and are productive and provide jobs, those are the ones they are sabotaging and hindering and, I don't know, boycotting. And I wonder if you have a different idea about politics or economics and all the things connected in this book, if you view the happenings or the things that are going on differently. And I have no idea how things are going to progress. Right now, the first train finally ran and they were successful and people started believing in the new metal, and now they have come up with a new way of destroying businesses again and destroying the business of Hank Reardon and making it difficult for him to produce and be successful. There's also the connection between Hank Reardon and Dagny Taggart. They were strictly business connections in the beginning, but recently they started sort of an affair. Hank Reardon is married, Dagny Taggart isn't. And what I've noticed is that it's very violent and weird the way it's described. I don't really know what that is about. Hank Rearden's family is something that I really despise. They all talk down on him for being interested in making money and making a profit and not caring about them. But nobody supports him, but they all take from him. They want the money, they want him to support his brother, give him a job, no matter if he's capable or not, just give him a job and pay him, who cares? And Hank Rearden, of course, doesn't want to do that, which is what I like. And so this family as well is something where I'm like, I really don't understand how these people can function. They are taking from him everything. And if they didn't have the opportunities because of all the work he does, how would they react then? Would they blame him for their miseries then as well, as they blame him right now for not taking any interest in them when they constantly are contemptuous and put him down in some way for being wrong, for liking his job, for doing what he does and enjoying himself and having interests? They don't share his interests. They just demand that he has different interests in what they want to talk about, but they don't even give interest in him, if that makes sense. I just came back listening to another session of a group of men who are entitled and basically incompetent, continuously saying it wasn't their fault that things failed, that they bankrupted something, that they were not greedy and not in it for the profit, that they were just trying to think of the social aspect, that they were doing it for the people, that they wanted to be given a chance, and that it was not fair and not their fault. And it's so amazing how she does that it's repetitive, that it keeps coming up. People saying it's not fair, that they were just as good as anyone else. They just never been given a chance. And when people point out that they failed at things, that they didn't have the competences, they kept saying it's not their fault and they were interested in the people. But at the same time, they keep recounting and presenting with pride all their mismanagement, what they had to do. And in all of that, the people, the workers that were actually pretending to be interested in and to want to protect and give money and everything to, they were never considered. They could never really name anyone. Even if asked to just give a name of someone, they were like, no, I wasn't interested in those people. I had too many people I was to worry about and I needed to do this. And in all of that, they kept just thinking of their own loss, not even their defeat or failure or deficit. They just kept saying it wasn't my fault, not taking the blame for anything, but blaming the greedy, profitable, competent people. And it's aggravating to listen to all these people ruining the livelihoods of others, all in the name of these others that they're trying to protect, but not giving them a chance to even have an existence because they wanted to be given a chance as well. And they were just as good as all the others. They had just the same names. It really looks like there is an entitlement of, let's say, a high society or upper class that is definitely not working class, but they consider themselves to be in the position that they deserve something. And the government is supporting that at the moment. And you can see how that is going on. After we meet these people, we see the first consequences of the changes in government, the Equality Act, and the rules and laws that have passed to give everyone an equal chance, as it is said. But it basically just means supporting the little people, the ones that always wanted to have the work. But in this part, we really saw what happened when they got the chance, when they were given this much of support and work, and they were expected to deliver, and how things failed. And it's amazing to see how little by little the last competent company leaders close and leave everyone else. So the economy is crumbling and everything is going to shit right now. And I'm not sure where things are going. I still have over 40 hours left, and I'm starting to think that there is this underlying idea, and I think that the outcome of this novel will be that the looters will have to face their comeuppance and deal with the fact that their social ideas are wrong. But I don't know how this is going to happen and what's going to happen in the next 40 pages. And I'm wondering if maybe the looters are going to be the ones who are winning at the end. If that is something that you're rooting for the wrong people the whole time. But you see how the people who are providing the work, the economy and everything in a stable way that's not just supporting the upper class, but the people below the poverty line. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's very interesting. I'm really enjoying this book. Oh my, that was an intense chapter. I really enjoy how the author uses the language to really say who tries to say something and who doesn't. There are so many people who don't want to say something and they're like, why do you want me to put it into words? Why do you want me to say it out loud? Didn't I say it in one way when they were implementing and just not implementing? When they were implying? And it's amazing. There's so much corruption and manipulation, but it's open and the people just try to get the others who are not a part of the corruptness and the incompetent to comply. And they don't. They keep saying like, what do you mean? And I love that. The writing is really impressive here. And then there's James Taggart's wedding. James Taggart, he's one of those typical rich men who say money is evil. That's something that happens a lot in the book. They say that money is evil and you don't need money, and they see work and poverty as virtue. So he goes and marries a dime store clerk, but instead of elevating her into his riches, he keeps her low and he keeps her in this virtue state of poverty, and he shows her off and wants to be praised as how good he is for freeing this woman. And it is so amazing that it's so typical that the only people who can say that money is evil and that poverty is a virtue are people with money. And then at the wedding, Francisco d'Anconio holds this speech about the evilness of money, or rather about what money really is, and really confronting everyone to acknowledge what they're doing, which of course they don't. And I love that. I really like Francisco d'Anconio. Finally, something good happened. Open blackmail. We have Riordan facing and opposing his family and the trial. It was amazing to see him really spill it out, not evade things, really say things out. But I don't think it changed much. We'll see. Okay, that was an amazing meeting. The scene where the looters get together and all the instigators of basically the crash of economy and the country talk about starting a new directive and putting in a new law, which basically is planned economy, centralization, fixing everyone, no more change, no more progress, nothing is about to happen, no one is allowed to have new ideas, work on new things, no one's allowed to leave the job, to stop producing, and every property and business is going to be frozen. This was so much fun to see how scared they are of change, of progress, and how they think that putting everything and fixing it where it is right now, where it's not working, will save them, and how they still play their little games to get advantage over the others. So much fun. Honestly, so much fun. I enjoyed this book. Can we just talk about Riordan's stupidity for a second? His super annoying male chivalry thing that's going on, always thinking he knows what the women around him think and then acting accordingly, which is just stupid. Totally stupid. Yes. Okay, I'm not sure I understood that correct, but I think that the pirate compared Robin Hood to the looters, and I'm not sure if I misunderstood Robin Hood the whole time, but I would compare the Sheriff of Nottingham to the looters and not the Robin Hood. So I don't know where that is going. Okay, everything is really falling apart, and I'm so disappointed in Dagny for coming back and saving the day. I don't really understand why. I mean, I understand her reasons, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. And I'm pretty much annoyed at Adrian for his possessiveness of her and his ownership and the violence that comes out of that and the things that he does without giving her the option of claiming that same ownership. Like, who's he to demand that she has not had sex with anyone, that there's no one else in her life? I don't know. We'll see how it goes on. Okay, we finally got the full story of the moral payment plan in that motor company. And it was long-winded, but it was very interesting to see the effects on the workers and how the company went and what was happening with this. You work according to your ability and you get paid according to your needs, and the effects that had and what the people thought would come of it and what actually happened. And it was really well done. I hope the sound is not too bad. My headphones died. Dagny reached Atlantis, and that's where all the industrialists went to, and she finally finds out why they left, what they're doing, and their motives and their ideas. And I find myself torn a little bit. I can understand their ideas, I can understand their motivations, and I can sort of understand what they're doing. I'm not sure that the way they live at Atlantis is the solution, and something that keeps bothering me is that their worldview of who they think they are and the people they compare to or call one of them, that would include Jeff Bezos. And it's very hard to say that what he's doing is correct. And I do think he has a mindset of the industrialists in this book, and he also has the habits of the looters. So I don't really know where this is going. I still have about, 20 hours left or so. I really think it's interesting how she's doing this, how she's presenting her ideas, how she's presenting a world with the industrialists and without the industrialists, what the industrialists are doing for the world. But I think she's missing what they could do for the world and what the world could do with the industrialists. Where it's something where we are, I think it's confusing. And to keep thinking of Jeff Bezos in this context is helpful, because no one can say what he's doing is correct. But it does create business and a lot of money, mostly for him though. Let's see how it goes on. Okay, I'm a little out of breath, but Dagny has spent a month in Atlantis, and I'm still not convinced that that is the way to go. Their ideas of how the future goes and how life should be. A little confused there. Now Dagny is confusing me overall. I don't really understand what she's getting at. I really am confused of her idea of what she wants and where she wants to be and where she wants to go and who she wants to be with. I really don't know what the person of Dagny is going to be in this. I think she's the crucial point, because everything seems to be turning around her and everybody seems to want her on their side. And she's clever and everything that justified that, but I really don't see that she's the only person important enough for any of this. That's the part with Dagny. Then we also got the revelation of Project X. And that, I think she's starting to go to turn the looters into people who actually want, or no. She's talking about the looters, and she's presenting them as having a social interest. That's their main motive. That's what they always say. They want social welfare, benefits for the poor, and equality. But all they're doing is the opposite. And Project X is framed as this huge weapon of mass destruction, which is supposed to give them power over everyone. So no one can speak up anymore and give them control over criticism or opposition. And that, I don't know, I'm not sure what it's doing to people who want social welfare. And I don't know what she's doing here. Alright, still 18 hours left. All the praise to Dagny. She went on the air on the radio interview that everybody wanted to blackmail her into thinking that she would comply. And she just told everyone that they were blackmailing her. That was awesome. And then Hank Reardon came and he had an endless speech again, where at first I thought, oh God, he's making it all about himself again, all the suffering and blah blah blah. And then he said, I know what happened and it's okay, it's all my fault. And I was like, wow, you impressed me here. So that were good events. There I was just thinking about what happened to James Taggart's wife, and all of a sudden we get this amazing long chapter about Jim and his wife. And it is amazing how the little shop girl tried to adapt and transform to become the wife of James Taggart, and how he didn't appreciate it, and how all of this showed his ugly, clueless pettiness of what he even wanted, and his definition of love, like what they want, and how Shelley, what's her name, put it in a phrase where everything becomes clear that she understands what's going on. Really loved it. Enjoying this chapter. Things are falling apart faster and faster, and Dagny is trying to keep things together and struggling against everyone. We don't really know what's going to happen, what their plans are, but there's one meeting where Dagny starts to see where they want to go, how the looters, after they squeezed everything out of the industrialists, are now trying to get everyone to just be struggling so that they can rise to the top and be rich, I guess, and have everything while everyone else has nothing. And all the people who were previously saying that they were trying to do everything for the people, they are now milking the people. Very interesting. Another chapter done, and things are coming more and more together. Hank Reardon, he finally understood what people wanted from him, and that his actions, what he thought was saving the country, was actually enabling the looters. And I thought that was very interesting. Also, the language. I don't know if I've said this enough already, but the language in this book is amazing. The words that she uses to describe things and to put names to things, but also how the characters use language and how the language plays a role in manipulating everyone, how the language is hiding what people are doing, and how one side, the competent people, are trying to use straightforward and direct language against the government and the looters and everyone who's incompetent to point out what they're doing, and they always refuse to accept straightforward language. It's very interesting and worth noticing. There's also this constant cry of, it was my fault, we're not to blame, if we only had our chance. And for now, it's been years that this has been going on. And I think people had their chance. It's time that they accepted that this is a bad excuse, but it's the language they use. It's the language they were taught. It's how they know to see their lives and understand their lives. And very, very interesting. Only 9 hours left. I'm really curious where all this is going. Like, if things will crumble completely or if the looters will go away. I don't know. My brain is fried. I just listened to 4 hours of a speech that John Gold gave over the radio. He addressed the public, basically, and everyone. And he finally explained who he is, what's going on, that he's the reason the industrialists left and that the people of the mind, as he calls them, are on strike. And then he goes on to this endless philosophical speech about virtues, values, life, happiness, the meaning of life, and it's just endless. It's hard to sum up. It's even hard to follow. And even though it was very interesting and it did have a lot of good points in there, that he addresses the people that they should stop supporting the looters, that they should not sacrifice things anymore. He also went on an endless explanation of what sacrifice really is. And there were just so many things defined. It was a lot. And the thing that I think is flawed here is that he's addressing common people, the ones that are still left in the world. And I mean, I'm considerably smart, and 4 hours of listening to that talk, it was hard to follow. And if you want to convince people that basically believe the government and the looters the whole time and are basic workers with basic education or minimal education, I don't think this is working. But that's a construction flaw in the idea of how this is built up. As a speech and as a philosophical idea, it is worth looking at. But in the story, I don't know if it actually works the way they wanted to because of the constraints of the limit of people's understanding and capability of listening to such a long speech. And I mean, I'm listening. They were listening on the radio. And you really had to focus. That's tough. That was kind of an abrupt ending. Like I said before, the looters also thought that the speech by Gold was too intellectual and they thought they could pressure him into doing what they wanted him to do. And of course that failed. And then everything came to an end. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I think there were some good ideas in there. And what really didn't work for me, and I don't know how she wants to make it work in an idea of economy, is that she put income tax in the looters category and considered that as looting. And I fail to see how a world without some form of tax works. But I don't know. Overall, I really enjoyed this. I think captivated. It was really well done as an audiobook. I can highly recommend this.